Hey, Foot Clan, today's show is brought to you by us.
All right.
Us and our other podcast. Look, the Fantasy Footballers twice a week. It's not enough for all of you out there. We know you're thirsty for more.
Oh, man.
Check out the Spitballers podcast, your weekly dose of family-friendly nonsense where, look, it goes completely off the track, off the rails. It's unstoppable. It's really fun, and it drops every single Monday, so check that out. Spitballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from pristineauction.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Welcome in indeed.
All I can think now is before the show when you dropped, put your socks in my drawer.
They'll be waiting for you. Thursday, February 14th.
It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Whoops.
I'll be right back. I need to stop by the local Target
The Walgreens.
and pick up a Valentine's ticket.
Walgreens? Come on.
Oh, wait. Target Valentine is fine?
It's a lot
yes.
better. Yeah.
Yes. Then a Walgreens rushed Valentine's
It's all the
gift?
same product. You just pay a little more at Walgreens. It's a little closer to your home.
I think we could run a poll by the spouses.
Yeah. Where do you want your gift from? Target?
What, you
or
think Walgreens candy tastes worse than Target candy?
You're getting candy for
What are you
Valentine's
getting?
Day?
What are you getting?
A clock.
A clock? Are you really?
I don't know. That's the
I
first
don't
thing I
know.
could think
I'm getting look, our Keurig machine broke.
Look how much time you've spent with me, honey.
This is the only coffee maker they have at Walgreens. Congratulations. Happy Valentine's Day.
What's a Hoover watch? Welcome in. We have our fantasy football Valentines on the show today. Last year, Mike looked these up because I didn't remember. Our 2018 Valentines, Devontae Adams, that was mine. Very surprising to me because I generally just disrespect that man.
There was a time where you believed.
Yeah. Well, there was a time when he didn't perform up to snuff.
But in fairness,
That
it
time
was
is
not
gone.
this last year where he
Yeah.
was your fantasy Valentine.
Yeah, and then Jason, you had Tyreek Hill.
I feel good about it.
Yeah, Mark Ingram.
Yeah, that one didn't work.
Pre-suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's all right.
Didn't know about the juice yet.
He's looking for some cash money this offseason.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we? All right, so quick question of the day. We also have the rookie review, running backs and tight ends on the show today. That'll be exciting to talk about because it'll include my fantasy Valentine, a guy that needs a little bit of love ever since the Kareem Hunt signing in Cleveland. My fantasy Valentine is none other than Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, a player that, we said it on the last show. People get a little confused when there's not the clear path to infinite carries for all time for a player like Nick Chubb. But look, this is the first player with 3 touchdown runs of 40-plus in a single season since AP did it back in 2015. His rushing grade from Pro Football Focus,
I was going to say.
it only trailed Melvin Gordon. And this is not a player that had 50 carries. He had 192 carries. Oh, and by the way, he had the highest elusive rating in the NFL for any player over 60 carries. So even some of those lower carry guys that might have broken some big plays, broken tackles, he had more avoided tackles than Saquon. Okay, Saquon had almost, 100 more carries than Nick Chubb did. So this is not a player that, surprised on a certain week and then disappeared. He's a very good running back.
Yeah, he was great, and all the Kareem Hunt news right now has people afraid. We said this on the last episode that's just going to make Chubb a better value in drafts. You're going to get off to a great start, and I don't think if he helps you out to start the year, I don't think they're just going to be like, okay, sorry Chubb, move out the way. You've been great, but we've got this other guy on a small contract. So
and look, relationships in fantasy football and life are fickle sometimes. I'm willing to fall out of love with Nick Chubb if Kareem Hunt gets a 4-game suspension.
But are you willing
But that's not
to
going to happen.
run by the Walgreens when you're in a hurry to grab something for Nick Chubb?
Well, no, I'm making my Valentine now.
You know what's funny is
I'll take it back later.
What's really funny
Give
is
me some of them chocolates.
I saw the other two fantasy Valentines in here, but I didn't see whose was whose. I just assumed that, Mike, you were bringing up Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Well, he's always
Because
been my
that's always
guy.
been-
Mike has always hated him.
Right. And yes. But because Mike's always loved Chubb, and then I saw the other guy who's like Andy's guy. You guys are you guys going
We're going steady.
double date on Valentine's?
Look, we peed in the same fountain.
Okay.
Never
Well-
use that
No.
expression for our camaraderie again.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
What-
I
where's it
finally
from?
with the reference. Yeah, that you like
Goodness.
swapped bodies because you what?
I don't know the name of it, but it was Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman.
Okay. All
Yeah.
I ever think about is Cross the Streams from Ghostbusters.
All I ever
Which
think
really does not go well with the pee in the same fountain analogy.
I just think about the Sun Devil Stadium
the
of
stories
old where you had to pee in a trough.
Oh yeah, that was
Just real life. It's
Back
just
in the
unbelievable.
Look, back in the 70s, it didn't matter if you were staring another man in the face.
I wasn't
Well,
born
you
in the
peed-
70s. This was in my lifetime.
it mattered. It always matters.
Here's what you hoped back then when they had the trough urinals.
That you didn't have to go to the bathroom.
That you sure hoped you were staring him in the face.
All right, Mike, please.
That's the hope.
Who is your fantasy Valentine?
Oh wow, I'm going with Jarvis Landry.
It was surprising for me to see that, and I want to hear why.
It's just all there for me. And I've talked about Jarvis over this offseason that it's hard to fully buy into him, considering the opportunities were there. When I say that, he is the only wide receiver to have 130 or more targets and not be a wide receiver 1. I mean, he was wide receiver 19 with that amount of opportunity. With Baker growing, a second-year player, it gets to have the continuous situation of Freddie Kitchens' offense. I think that Jarvis Landry is going to be undervalued for drafts.
Yeah, I mean, he very well might be because I don't look at Jarvis Landry and think that's someone I really, really want on my team, which will obviously mean that I'll draft him a little bit later.
He's just making so much money, too.
I finally figured out what I'm getting my wife for Valentine's Day.
No.
I've just thought about it right now. You know how you can name a star?
Yeah.
You can name a star online, buy a star and name it. And usually you name it your wife's name and you give it to her or your girlfriend or your significant other. And I'm going to give her a star named Juju. I'm gonna call these star people up. I'm going to name it Juju. And then I'm going to say, this is
that's
your
gonna
gift.
Be, here,
Happy
honey.
Valentine's
Here, honey.
Day.
Here's a star named Juju.
But my Valentine,
That's very
I've
nice.
got to go with the heart. And I have had a full love affair with Juju Smith-Schuster on the field, off the field for 2 years. He's incredible.
If I were to send him a message on slide into his DMs on Twitter, is he going to corroborate this relationship?
Dude, it's Juju, hit me up. We will go we'll go get some froyo.
Now
and
he has
have a great time.
Now he has to hit you up.
I'll hit Juju up. But the point is everybody that listens to this show knows. Look, a star is born. 2 years ago, I loved what I saw on the field from Juju. He was exploding, and now Antonio Brown. I don't expect him to be a part of the Steelers franchise. I still don't think he'll be back.
Percentage
and some
chance.
people,
Percentage
I think
chance
90% that he's gone.
Okay.
Some people out there are saying, well, look, Juju, that means he's going to be on the outside. He's going to be in a different role. He's going to have the number one coverage. He's not going to have Antonio Brown taking defenders away. And I get that argument, but come on. Look at the amount of targets. Look at the volume that will be there for him. And we have a, granted, small sample, but Juju has played 3 games without Antonio Brown where he was the guy.
Right.
And he averages 5 more fantasy points a game. More targets, more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns on average in those games without Antonio Brown. This isn't rocket science. If you're a great wide receiver, you want to be the primary target. He is good enough in the NFL to be a primary target. So I'm all about Juju Smith-Schuster. Your Valentine is in the mail.
Well, I mean, for your purposes, for fantasy purposes, you might as well send that that star certificate to Big Ben. He's the one who needs to solidify Juju as his Valentine.
I'll name a ton of stars after Juju.
Just
this
a
is Juju
ton.
1, Juju 2.
All right, well, those were our fantasy Valentines for 2019 as of Valentine's Day. Early.
Reserve the right to change.
Find us on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballer. Subscribe, click the bell. It'll let you know if we do a special live stream or something like that. Instagram.com/fantasyfootballers, Twitter @theFFballers. You can also subscribe. We appreciate it. Oh, so much.
Yes.
Apple Podcasts, ad-free on Stitcher Premium, and the community of listeners for this show, the Foot Clan. You can find them at jointhefoot.com. You guys want to get into the news?
Yes.
News and notes from around the league, presented by Sleeper.
Now I understand, Mike. Now I understand what you were saying before the show. We got some different headphones on today,
Yeah.
and we put them on. I'm like, man, this just sounds the same.
Never.
But Mike over there with his hot riffs on the guitar, there's no low end. There's just not enough low end coming through, Mike. Yeah, I feel like everything that you've worked for, we don't get to appreciate it.
I feel
mean,
like
the listeners do. They hear it.
It makes me feel like Mike's doing a worse job.
Yeah, way to go, Mike.
You're really letting us.
I can't even appreciate it to the
I
same
apologize.
No, it's my fault. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, thank you,
Darn
Brooks.
right, Brooks.
degree. Yeah, that's fair. All right, the Ravens have agreed in principle to trade Joe Flacco to the Denver Broncos.
What?
The deal cannot be announced formally until the new league year, which opens on March 13th. But Joe Flacco set to be a Denver Bronco. We have witnessed the buzz, the reports, the thoughts, the feedback from fans of the Broncos and Joe Flacco and the Case Keenum truthers out there like Jason. Where are we now?
I think what happened is they saw Case Keenum not pushing the ball down the field. They saw his height, and they thought, if we could just get him a little taller, we could succeed. And so they traded for Case Keenum plus 5 inches, which is Joe Flacco. If you look at their career stats, it's unbelievable. You're talking about the same yards per attempt, completion percentage, passer rating, almost everything across the board is the same, with the sole exception of 5 extra inches on Joe Flacco.
He's taller.
He is taller.
The Broncos moved from 100-1 odds to win the Super Bowl to 125-1. So Vegas did not look at Joe Flacco as an
Get
upgrade.
bodied, Flacco.
And yeah, I mean, just kind of a little bit bewildering of a trade. They got $28 million locked up in the quarterback position now, and no future. Right? The Ravens saw fit to move on from Flacco as their future. The Vikings saw fit to move on from Case Keenum for their future. And then they all gathered in Denver, I think under the illusion of we have a defense. We just need somebody to Peyton Manning us to another Super Bowl. And maybe that's the case. I mean, their defense has been good.
They're hoping that Joe Flacco will Peyton Manning them.
old Peyton Manning.
The last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, they genuinely are sitting here going, look, it worked to bring in the vet who had experience. This is a Super Bowl MVP.
Well, Joe Flacco, he did this before. He is a Super Bowl champion. Yes. Here's what I'm wondering, though, Jay. They exchanged a 2019 fourth-round pick for Joe Flacco.
Sure.
What would you have had to trade for 5-inch lifts for the shoes of Case Keenum?
Right,
I doubt you have to give up a fourth.
Much, much cheaper. No, this is a great deal for
Go
Baltimore.
down to Savers.
If you are a Ravens fan,
well, those will be mismatched.
Congratulations.
This is fantastic. You opened up enough cap room to be able to sign a significant free agent on any side of the ball.
Like Mark Ingram?
Maybe. Man, I hope that's not true, but yes, exactly.
You wouldn't take Mark Ingram as a Baltimore Raven?
He would, but he would lose
my
the bet.
point
He would
is
lose the bet
I
with
believe
me.
Mark Ingram is going to be back with the Saints, and yeah, I believe we have a water bet on that. So
We do.
If Ingram was on my dynasty team, I would be hoping he went to Baltimore.
Sure, with big money, absolutely, get him the rock. But it's good for Baltimore. They get out of that. They get out of the worry of if Lamar Jackson's having a bad game or a bad stretch that oh, do you bring in Joe Flacco and all of that? They open up cap and they improve their 4th-round pick. It's a home run.
Yeah, the Broncos had 2 4th-rounders. They had one from the Demaryius Thomas trade. Demaryius Thomas, by the way, just released.
Yeah.
Had the torn Achilles with Houston. Ultimately didn't work out in Houston.
And
he's done.
It's going to be a long road back.
And now I believe that they are looking to shop Case Keenum around.
Yeah.
So teams can, if you are a general manager, you can go to ebay.com/dbroncos, and that's how they're going to decide.
They couldn't even get Denver Broncos?
No.
It was taken?
Someone claimed it.
So I'm looking at on Spotrac here because I wanted to see what Joe Flacco was owed. I'm going to have to do some digging into this because at least the way that Spotrac has this, because they have the trade on here that he's going to be a Denver Bronco. He's going to make $18.5 million, which for if you have a legit starting quarterback, that's not bad at all. That would not be bad. But they're saying he would now have 0 dead cap after this season. So I don't know if Baltimore still had to absorb some of that into their overall salary cap, because if the Broncos,
I'm sure they did.
If the Broncos can in fact test out Joe Flacco this year, like they still have an early enough pick that they could draft a quarterback this year, have him sit behind Flacco, who he's at least somewhat of an upgrade over Case Keenum to me. But if you can get rid of him next year for no consequence,
let's make this simple on everybody, okay? The Broncos send Case Keenum and a 2nd-round pick to Arizona for Josh Rosen. Cardinals draft Kyler Murray.
No.
And they have Keenum to back him up.
No.
Come on, I don't want Rosen.
No.
I don't want him.
But let's talk bigger picture here. What does this do for Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton? Do you like this for those 2 guys?
Initially, I did. Because what I'm doing is I'm projecting a lot of what Joe Flacco was on what Joe Flacco is.
He's doing
Joe Flacco's
too.
been Joe Flacco's been dealing with hip injuries, right? Torn ACL a couple years ago. He can't move in the pocket. If they don't protect him, he's not going to get the ball downfield any different than Case Keenum will. And when you look at the career yards per attempt, yards per completion, look, Joe Flacco's always been known for having a good deep ball. But you got to protect him. You got to do a lot to make Joe Flacco good. So do I think it raises the potential of Cortland Sutton? I think a hair, 5%, 10%.
Like a Jason Moore hair?
Well, no, I said 5%, 10%.
Yeah. This would be like a 1 to 4%.
Speaking of that, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
If you, Andy mentioned subscribing to the YouTube channel, you're going to want to do that because of the overwhelming,
there was a petition. This is a political cause of mine.
And the petition was an overwhelming success for Fedora Week for Jason Moore. So that is, the Fedora has landed.
Yeah.
You'll look Fedora.
I apologize to everybody. Usually I apologize.
Say he will look
I apologize.
I did.
Oh, come on. Where's the rim shot on that?
Here's the thing, Jason. You're growing your hair back out.
Yes.
I'm trying to give you the bridge to growing your hair back out. You can pull that fedora off in a couple weeks,
and I've got hair.
And you've got hair,
but I'm not going to wear it for a couple of weeks
until we start another.
You're going to wear it for 2 weeks.
I'm wearing it for 2 shows, 1 week
because
next
you're
week,
obligated
and then
by
I
the
will,
fans
on YouTube. Burn it.
All right, you can do that.
All right,
you can do that. But I think you're going to like it.
Speaking of trades and dead cap, Antonio Brown.
Right.
Antonio Brown has officially asked to be traded. He went on his Twitter and basically said goodbye.
He did a full Oprah.
Yeah, he's
living the secret right now. If
he believes it,
he put it out into the universe that says I'm moving on, and he has neither been cut nor traded by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Vegas odds are out for you can actually, because you can bet on anything, you can bet on where he is going to land, and I believe the Steelers, I give them 10% chance that he's back there, but according to the Vegas odds, they were the second highest odds to land Antonio Brown next year, to have him.
The Steelers were.
Right.
Because
he's not going back there. He's not going back there.
We'll see.
Because I don't
see.
know how you can placate a guy like that at this point in time and not risk. The thing is that the reports at the end of the season before the Bengals game is that something changed. Nobody could reach him. Nobody could talk to him. Like, it was not – it was off the grid different. And so I don't think they can risk that in this window they have with Big Ben. So I think he's moved. But
I want to agree, but he's got a lot working against him, or I guess Pittsburgh does. You have now he was guilty of a reckless driving. He's got a couple things that are out there in the ethos hanging over him.
That mustache is not helping.
No.
Can any of you two can anybody – Brooks, can you handle that blonde mustache?
No.
Look,
I can't handle it.
it's definitely a bold-fashioned statement. That's what I can say about that. And on top of that, you're talking $20+ million just of dead cap for the Pittsburgh Steelers to trade him away. So I agree that I think he will be moved, but it's not going to be as easy as him tweeting out that I'm not on the team anymore.
All right, that is it for the news and notes. Do you hate ads on your fantasy app? So do we. Download the best free fantasy app on iOS and Android. Get the Sleeper app today. And before we get into the rookie review, okay, before we get into the running backs and the tight ends, I want to tell you about HelloFresh. All right, support for today's show comes from HelloFresh. Make conquering the kitchen in 2019 a reality with deliciously simple recipes from HelloFresh. Look, I just turned my sister on to HelloFresh, and she loves it. The
Did
recipes,
she say hello?
oh, so fresh.
So fresh.
Look, easy to follow, 6-step pictured recipes. Honestly, this is true. She's 10 years younger than I am. She's 20.
So she needs the pictures.
She's 24. No, what I'm saying is she doesn't have experience cooking. She has found it to be a super enjoyable part of her day. She gets home, all the pre-measured ingredients are there. She follows it, and she said every single one she's had is great, absolutely awesome. We've done it twice a week for a long time. That's why I recommended it to her. And all the meals take 30 minutes maximum. So they make it easy. Take advantage of HelloFresh's special offer for 2019. Get $80 off your first month by going to HelloFresh.com/footballers80 and enter the promo code footballers80. That's HelloFresh.com/footballers80 and enter promo code footballers80 to take advantage of HelloFresh's special offer for 2019 and get $80 off your first month. I really should have told her to use that code.
Oh, come on. You got to support the show.
I know.
Hey, well, Foot Clan, you can use the code BALLERS at fantasychamps.com to save 10% if you want trophies, rings, draft boards, if you do a live draft with your buddies coming up, awesome fantasy jerseys. All your swag should come from fantasychamps.com. It is fantastic. And we have a deal right now. You know, we've got the Ultimate Draft Kit. We already know you're going to get it because it helps you win in your league. And right now, not only do you get $10, like a $10 gift card to Shop Ballers, you want to get a shirt, get the new Get Bodied shirt, but you're also getting a $10 gift card for fantasychamps.com. So you can save a little bit of money there. Check them out. Fantasychamps.com.
Rookie Review.
All right, back into the rookie review, our dive through the 2018 rookies, how they performed. We go through based on their spot in the NFL draft and kind of break down the truth of these fantasy rookies. Just covered the quarterbacks and wide receivers on the Tuesday show. So if you missed it, get back over there. Get over there. Listen up. All right, running backs today. Let's go ahead and dive in here. Saquon Barkley. I've heard of him.
He's pretty good.
We did talk about him on the Truth episode, so we'll keep it brief. The running back Truth episode, just because he finished so high. He was the number 2 running back with the number 4 consistency ranking, but he never busted. He was absolutely dominant, especially against bottom 16 teams. He was elusive. He had the highest percentage of breakaway runs in the NFL this year, led the league running backs in scrimmage yards, third most all-time for a rookie. What is there to add to Saquon Barkley? You know, there were rumors today, mind you, bold prediction Jay Glazer rumors about Odell Beckham Jr. leaving that team via trade, but is Saquon the backbone of this team for the next several years instead of Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, I think Saquon is the center of their offense. That's what they want. They drafted him to be that, and that doesn't take away from Odell Beckham. But Saquon is he's another level. I mean, I was watching some film on the Giants this last week, and every time that he broke away, I'm like, man, I just forget how different he is as a human. He's bigger, but he's also faster at the same time, and he's the very rare running back where, running backs, unlike a wide receiver, you get your fantasy points as the game goes on. The first quarter, the second quarter, you know if you've got a good game or not. But there were several games where it's like, okay, it looks like he's having a bad game, and he could bust off an 80-yard run, regardless of whether they're down or up or any situation. So Saquon Barkley should be in the conversation for the number 1 overall pick next year. He probably won't be number 1 on ADP, but I can't see him being lower than 4th. He might be. He's in the tier 1.
By the way, to lay of the land this year versus last year, the number of games for rookies with 100-plus yards from scrimmage, there were 40 total this year. That was 5 fewer than the 2017 rookie running back class. So we're talking about total yards from scrimmage. That includes the pass catchers and the like. Saquon did it 13 times. Philip Lindsay was second. He did it 6 times. Chubb and Sony Michel both did it 5 times.
This was not as good, and we knew this from years prior, that the 2017 running back class was very special. Hunt, Christian McCaffrey, Fournette, Kamara, Mixon, Cohen, Dalvin Cook. That was a special class. I think this one actually surprised me. I didn't think they would be as good as they were.
But you had disappointments like Royce Freeman. You had disappointments like, took Chubb a while to get going.
Sony Michel.
Surprises, Philip Lindsay, Gus Edwards. So those things happened, but Kerryon got banged up. And those are the guys we're talking about right now. So let's talk about Rashaad Penny, because how do you can look at the numbers. Rashaad Penny, 419 yards rushing on only 85 carries, only 12 targets on the season. Obviously, didn't live up to expectations.
No.
However, 4.9 a carry when he was in the game. And how do you feel about him? Because he was a first-round pick, and we came in here last year and we said, well, the draft capital invested on Rashaad Penny and Sony Michel, it means X, Y, and Z. Well, how do we feel about Rashaad Penny moving forward? Because I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, it felt bad. It felt real bad having a first-round pick. It's hard to know, did he really lose his job? Because he came into training camp, got banged up. He had the finger problem, like a broken finger. And then Chris Carson, who was, like a 5th to last pick in the NFL draft 2 years ago, he managed to hold on to the job. He held Rashaad Penny off. So it certainly felt bad. But on the field, he was okay. So if the opportunity comes, I believe Rashaad Penny will be great. I just don't know that the opportunity will come, the opportunity you were expecting for a first-round running back.
What I'm really looking for in 2019 is what happens with Mike Davis, because Chris Carson is the starter.
I think Mike Davis is gone.
He's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah,
so
he's gone then.
Exactly. He might not be there. But if he leaves, I think Rashaad Penny is going to be a value in the draft, because he was talented when he got the ball. He just didn't get that many opportunities. He didn't even get 100 carries.
I was going to say, will he get 200 carries next year?
No, I don't think he'll get 200 carries.
I mean, if you look at what Mike Davis abandoned, you'd have to give them all to Rashaad Penny. But Penny was banged up. He played 14 games. He didn't have great opportunity early.
What was interesting for Davis was they turned him into their pass-catching back, because you had the smooches. J.D. McKissick was hurt the entire year, and I can't even remember the other guy.
C.J. Prosise?
C.J. Prosise.
No, they have an endless supply of third-down injured running backs.
But Mike Davis turned into that guy. You have a game with 7 receptions, a game with 8 receptions. When they needed to go to a pass-catching running back, they went to Mike Davis. And of the two, Chris Carson and Rashaad Penny, Penny's skill set at catching the ball is vastly superior.
Yes, and I think Rashaad Penny can be that pass-catching back.
Well, they trusted Mike
valuable.
Davis in pass protection. That was the thing.
Right, and you saw some of the rookie issues of he was not involved early. The beginning of the year, his pace was the first half of the year, he was on pace for about 80 carries, where he finished the second half of the year, he would have been on pace for 115. That's not fantasy gold, but clearly it shows that he was getting more involved in the offense, getting a little bit more trust, in his camp when it comes to pass protection, things like that. So if Mike Davis is gone, I do think Rashaad Penny will be a value next year.
You get Penny 150 carries and 30, a little bit over 30 receptions. Of course, that's not a running back one, but that's a guy that was going to be valuable for your team.
I don't really see how he doesn't get 200 carries next year. I really don't.
Yeah?
I mean, this is a team that ran the football more than anybody in the NFL except for Baltimore. And Baltimore had the built-in plays drawn up for the quarterback. So they rushed the ball percentage-wise more than anybody, 52% of the time. 534 carries last year. 534.
That's a lot.
So with what they maybe it sounds a little bit like a broken record, but with the draft capital and the fact he earned some reps towards the end of the season, I feel pretty good about him being a potential steal.
You cannot write him off.
No. No.
You had the running backs that supremely disappointed. Ronald Jones, supremely disappointed. Rashaad Penny, supremely disappointed. But at least that, Penny looked good when he got the ball.
Do you want to go out and trade for Penny in a dynasty league?
Yeah. If I can get him for pennies.
Oh
gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
nailed it.
It's fair. All right, let's move on.
Believe you've met my fitness consigliere, Michel.
All right, Sony Michel. Sony Michel. Look, I saw him on a late night show. Did you guys see that interview?
No. What show?
He was on with Fallon, was it?
Was this after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was after the Super Bowl, but he was talking about the party after the Super Bowl and how crazy it was, but how like Tom Brady and his family had this like completely separate section from everybody else.
Yeah, with veggie trays.
And Sony Michel just felt like a fan, just like everybody else at the party, of Tom Brady, just taking pictures of Tom Brady. Super Bowl champion Sony Michel. Look, first-round pick. Talked about him in the Truth episode as well, so we'll be brief. But most carries for any New England rookie running back in the last 20 years.
That's a pretty good stat.
Averaged the third most yards per carry ever of New England rookie running backs, and was still difficult to decide how, when, and why to play him on your fantasy roster because of all of the schematic and roster moves that New England makes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got pros and cons here, right? The way he finished the year, and I'm speaking in the playoffs.
Right.
When the Patriots needed him, they relied on him. He averaged over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the playoffs. That's great. That's a guy that you can rely on. But I'm worried it pushes his average draft price so high that you're going to grab a guy that can still be just completely schemed out next year because of Bill Belichick.
Oh,
he's talented.
Schemed out. I don't know about out.
I mean, if you go into one of these weird games where all of a sudden
they had
you
it happen plenty of times at the end of the season.
If I had to have a backup Valentine, like I hand that first one out, she rejects it, I got to find my backup, Sony Michel would have been it.
All right.
And part of it is what you said about the playoffs and the way he performed and what they want him to be able to do and the fact that, he took some pretty big steps as a rookie despite the injuries. Mike, weigh in on Sony before we move on to Nick.
I'm with Jason. I'm not with Jason that's Sony.
Not on the fedora.
No, not with the fedora, but I love Sony Michel, and I truly believe he has the pass-catching skill set. But Bill Belichick did not want to use him that way, and it's looking at the end of the year, that's where things are weird because that's when Rex Burkhead was back. That's when everyone was there. And Week 12, fantastic. Over 20 fantasy points, a monster game, and championship weekend as well. But in between those, very disappointing for a player who's likely to – I agree with Jason that he will get the playoff bump. Sony, over or under – the middle of actually the top of the third round, over or under?
I think middle of the third.
So you'll take the under?
Yeah.
As far as where I think he'll go or where I would draft him?
No, where you think he will go, ADP.
I think he'll be at the top of the third. So if I had to pick an over-under, I would go over.
I
would not draft him there at all.
I would take him there. I don't think there's going to be the overreaction you think there is. The impact last year made by the running backs on that team, it was James White owners. The James White owners remember what they got from him. He won leagues for most people. He's the most valuable draft pick in fantasy.
When we went through the Truth of the Running Back episode and we saw the value of targets, the value of the receiving skills, yes, you believe he has the receiving ability.
But they don't use him like that. It doesn't matter.
I don't think he has it, and he had 11 targets, right? Like on the year. That's worthless.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yet, LeGarrette Blount has had a monster fantasy season in New England, not catching the football at all. So they're a unique team to me. Like, I wouldn't make that argument for Sony Michel everywhere. But to me, they're unique because he can score 3 touchdowns because that's how they,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Nick Chubb, I already talked about him. He was the 3rd pick of the 2nd round by the Browns. He was the 9th most consistent running back in football, and he only had 16 rushes in weeks 1 through 6 and still pulled off a monster year.
Yeah, for the consistency rank, we did not include those, just a reminder.
Yeah, the first 6 weeks.
18.5 fantasy points per game from weeks 9 through 16, which puts him at RB6 in that span. You guys talk about Nick Chubb if you want to. Otherwise, we can move on.
No,
but, we've made the case for him.
He's going to be a stud. But where do you think he will go? Because I think he'll be like a top of the 2nd round. He's going to be the consolation running back for the
Do you like him in the top of the 2nd round?
I don't know if I do.
I don't know if I like him in the top of the 2nd round. I think, but I would take him. Would you take him over Sony? And I think I would. I would take him over Sony.
100% take him over Sony.
So middle of the 2nd, I think that's good value on Nick Chubb. But it's kind of moot to kind of theorize where he's going when you don't have the Kareem Hunt suspension that has come down.
Right.
Because that'll define everything. Ronald Jones. The 6th pick of the 2nd round. Hot stats. Ready? He registered more tackles. Yes, that would be tackles.
Wait, he's a
running back. Yeah. But he tackles 1 time. More tackles in the last 4 games than total yards. That's
rough. That's mean.
You know how you're writing a story, right? And you mess up so many times, and the paper's got all that eraser mark on it, and then you just crumple the page up and just throw it and then start over. That's what we're going to try to do, or what he's going to try to do with his rookie season.
It's going to be tough for Ronald Jones. Bruce Arians, I'm not sure that there was a worse hire for the status of Ronald Jones, because things that Bruce Arians wants in his running back, number one, it's pass protection, and then he also wants his running back to be able to catch the ball. And Ronald Jones struggles mightily with both of those things, which is why he could not beat out Peyton Barber last year. So with Arians coming in, look, maybe there could be growth for Ronald Jones. So I'm not going to. He's not a
or maybe he's just
write-off.
a kick and punt returner. I mean, that's those are the range of outcomes, right?
Right.
He could be useless.
Yes, 100% useless. He's one of those guys where I'll be surprised if late in next year's draft I take a flyer on him. I would bet I don't draft him, and with my last positional pick next year, unless something comes around where Arians says he is the guy. But you got to keep in mind, he wasn't even part of the team that drafted him. Why is he going to come in and be like, okay, now the guy that got 23 carries last year didn't do much with it. He's the guy.
Here's the counterpoint. If you want to make a point for Ronald Jones, I don't think any of us are under the illusion that Peyton Barber is special. Now, he may be reliable, but I don't think any of us think he's special. I think Ronald Jones has some qualities that could earn him a role in the offense based on training camp. I mean, he was a high 2nd-round pick. There is more institutional investment in him than there is at the head coach position, but it still matters. So if he can flash, we're talking about him moving from a nothing, a very nice defender with the 1 tackle,
right?
But from nothing into something. Now, do I want to draft him? No, I don't want to draft him. No.
The counterpoint to the special versus reliable, David Johnson was a special running back. It took multiple injuries in front of David Johnson his rookie season to get him on the field because he kept making mistakes, and Arians wasn't willing to put up with the mistakes to get those potential special plays. So if Ronald Jones can't improve in those 2 areas, it's going to be very difficult for him to get playing time.
Yeah, he's going to have to
I mean, he's got an opportunity because Peyton Barber is a restricted free agent. We'll see if Tampa Bay brings Barber back. I'm guessing that they're going to grab a running back in the draft.
Yeah, they could grab one in the draft. They could also make a splash in free agency.
They might make a play on Lev. Who knows?
They could. Or even a guy like Isaiah Crowell, who was announced likely to be released from the Jets. All right, let's move on to a slightly rosier story.
Carry on my wayward son.
Kerryon Johnson, the 11th pick of the second round by the Detroit Lions. He
traded up to get him.
Consistency rank of 19. Played 10 games, 118 carries, 641 and 3. Just a taste, right? The appetizer was brought out. Jason took a couple bites and then reached in for another, and they took it away.
Yeah.
It was gone.
I don't
They
like
pulled
when you
are you done with this, sir, as you're trying to eat?
The busboy cleared it way too soon.
Yeah, I was in the restroom, but half the plate was still there.
Yeah.
You got to wait till I give you permission. Kerryon Johnson, it was so frustrating watching him be the clear, unquestionable best running back on that team every single play, and then continuing, especially at the beginning of the year, to watch LeGarrette Blount get the start, LeGarrette Blount get the work, Theo come in on. I mean, it was like they couldn't find a way to get Kerryon on. It reminded me a lot of David Johnson's rookie season, where every time he came on, something special happened. He broke a long play, he got a touchdown, and then they kept not utilizing him. But I said this from last season. Kerryon Johnson's a guy that I try to get in every dynasty situation I'm in, and he was for 2019. Kerryon Johnson will have a fantastic 2019. LeGarrette Blount will be gone. They will – I mean, Kerryon Johnson to me is wherever he's drafted, I'm taking him higher than that, wherever his average draft position is, because I believe –
I bet he's – I'll let you say. Where do you think he's going to go?
Probably top of the fourth.
That's what,
middle of the third round.
Back of third, top of fourth.
He'll probably be middle of the third by that point, because
you better hope his preseason's not very strong.
he's just going to be named the starter.
I would rather have
once he's named the starter, he could go in the second round.
I would rather have Kerryon Johnson than Sony Michel, without a doubt.
That's hot.
Yeah, I mean I think that's not what I would do.
But
I understand it, because the
would.
pass catching is going to be there, and he's a special player. 5.43 yards per carry, best by a rookie since DeMarco Murray. Very special player. Less convinced that Matt Patricia has things figured out in Detroit, and I do worry that there is at least a percentage chance we're sitting here next year making the same appetizer analogy, because you see these tastes of fantasy glory. Look, in his games played, even the good ones this year, even through weeks 7 through 11, being the RB11, never had a great game all year. Never had a game that finished in that top upper echelon category. I think his offense limits him. I think the team limits him.
Do you guys remember Darrell Bevel?
Yeah.
You ever heard of him? Former Seahawks.
Yeah, that's why we said
offensive coordinator, who is very much like current Seahawks offensive coordinator, who just wants to run your
boat.
Yes,
Jason.
I mean, I think the amount of Patricia is coming in. They got rid of Jim Bob Cooter. They brought in Darrell Bevel. That's very similar to what Seattle did last year, where they are saying
that's a good sign.
With their actions, we want to be a run-first, defensive-minded team. That's not what the Lions have been in any way, shape, or form over the last decade.
Is that why they got rid of Golden Tate? They wanted to force the issue?
Yeah, apparently. And so I'm going to be very bullish on Kerryon. That's
a fair point. Darrell Bevel. If you can get into that, if they're a top 10 running team, it'll make all the difference in the world. Darius Geis, the 27th pick of the second round, flashed in the preseason, and, well,
didn't have a good year.
Here we are. Not a good year, Jason?
Not a good year for him or for dynasty owners of Darius Geis, as he got torn ACL. What is that? First preseason game?
First or
Did
second?
you say he got torn ACL?
I think so.
He got.
I said that. He got.
Okay. Darius Geis, Mike, make the case for a strong sophomore season for this young man with all the potential in the world, and, well, a difficult situation because we don't even know the quarterback in Washington.
Right. Well, the talent is there, but the offensive scheme, you look at what Adrian Peterson was able to do. It was not consistent at all, but Adrian Peterson, over 1,000 rushing yards. Darius Geis is a much, much better running back at this point of his career than Adrian Peterson, and they'll figure the quarterback out enough that they'll get the vast majority of what Alex Smith brought to that team, in my opinion. There's a couple guys out there who can come in and be game managers and be what Gruden wants for that team, and it's going to fall on Darius Geis. Now, there are rumors. The Bushes are whispering about Adrian Peterson coming back to Washington. That would put a potential wrinkle in my plans for Darius Geis, so that's the thing that I'm watching the most.
A wrinkle in your Geis?
No one wants a wrinkle in the Geis.
All right, let's talk about a couple of Broncos. Royce Freeman, the 7th pick of the 3rd round, and his worst nightmare. Philip Lindsay, undrafted by the Broncos. We brought him up on the Truth episode. Why?
Curses.
Because he was the 12th overall fantasy running back. And here we have a great conundrum for fantasy owners. Who's going to be taking the handoffs from Joe Flacco? Joe Cool.
It's Philip Lindsay until I've heard otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the more that I've really considered this, Andy, and you know, we don't need to share the details because it was a terrible offer, but
I know exactly what you're about to talk about.
But I definitely, as soon as our platform was
the details must be shared because we reactivated our league.
Yes.
I peeked over, and first of all, Jason was so happy. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting back in the league." And I see out of the corner of my eye someone's trying to make a transaction. All I can read, I'm too far away. I can't see what's
you sneaky snook.
But I see the bold font up top that says trade, and I went, "Oh my!"
Yes, the first action
why don't
I took
before
was
you
to,
send the offer, why don't you tell him what my reply was?
I believe it was something along the lines of "Got any more in your junk drawer?"
What are you trading, rubber bands?
I
and
wanted
stamps?
to
Pretty
test
close.
the water because a lot of people don't think Philip Lindsay is going to. You know, you've got a different coaching staff, a different quarterback. You've got Philip Lindsay with a broken bone right now. He's undrafted.
Those people are not Andy.
I know, but I wanted to see where he was at. The first thing I did was try to trade for Philip Lindsay. I believe he will be the guy. He's
What'd you
clearly the
offer?
better runner. So
You're not getting away from this. What'd
Sure.
you offer?
Well, we were at lunch today, and Andy said he was interested in Mark Andrews, right? So I offered Mark Andrews, tight end. And who else did I offer?
Wendell Smallwood,
Wendell Smallwood
Frank Gore.
and Frank Gore.
Oh, I think I'm gonna be sick.
And he also asked for Robert Foster back with
Yeah.
Philip Lindsay.
What's funny is I was gonna start with a really good fair trade.
Yeah, you were.
No, I was gonna throw Pettis and some other stuff in there
okay.
and actually look at an honest trade. But then I thought I would just. It was really a clown. There was never 1 second where I thought
Yeah.
it would be accepted.
Well, that's why I said got any more junk in your
Yeah.
junk drawer. So Philip Lindsay, you believe in him.
I do.
You believe in the future of Philip Lindsay.
He is
5.4 yards a carry.
He's
That's
too good.
impressive.
He was great through the entire season. And look, he won over the coaching staff last year in training camp. He showed that
He won
was
over
the,
John Elway too.
Yeah, he was the best. He was the best running back, and he's going to win over the new regime. He's going to win over everybody again because he is clearly the best running back there. They want to run the ball, and he can. So I believe in Philip Lindsay. I don't see any reason in the world that he would be relegated to a backup behind Royce Freeman when he's the better runner.
Now, Royce Freeman had 130 carries. Lindsay had 192. Much more efficient with them, but he's a little guy. He's a small guy. Royce Freeman, can he earn this job? Can he earn a big enough role?
It's going to be tough.
Okay.
We do at least know
Adjusted expectations then.
that although we mentioned at the top of this, rookies with 100+ yards from scrimmage, I was baffled to see Royce Freeman was actually on that list. And I forgot. I mean, that was the final week of the season when Philip Lindsay was out, and it was Royce Freeman. Boom, catching some passes. I think he had 60 rushing yards, 40 receiving yards. So that's what there is to know about Royce Freeman. If he gets the opportunity, I believe he will be successful.
Completely agree.
The opportunity will not come easy, though, for Royce Freeman.
All right, let's talk about some more interesting names maybe heading into next year. A couple of Indianapolis Colts, another team that could make a splash at the running back position, but Nyheim Hines, Jordan Wilkins, 4th and 5th round picks. Marlon Mack didn't play through the majority of the first 6 weeks. I think he was in there week 2.
Marlon Mack was almost my Valentine.
Was he?
I'm so madly.
I would have been
good.
so
He's very good.
angry at you.
I am so madly.
He's
in
as
love
good
with,
as Case
with Mack.
Keenum is bad. So Jason gets credit. He can make up for any Keenum love he ever had with the fact he was dead on right with Marlon Mack.
Mack's going to be awesome.
I think he is too. So what does that mean about Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins? That you need an injury probably for them to be relevant.
Yeah, I love that what Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins mean. They represent the security of Marlon Mack because
Agreed.
They're young and they're good enough to where the Colts aren't going out and getting a running back. The Colts are always they're going to get Lev Bell. That would be so out of character and there's no need for that. They have holes on that team that they need to fill. Why would they spend money to fill the role they don't need? With those 3 running backs, I love Marlon Mack.
They would be a better destination for Antonio Brown than Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
Completely agree.
That would be the go for the gold.
Yeah,
and I do mean gold mustache of Antonio Brown.
I'm thinking about it.
Each of you, let's each pick out one more running back from the rookie crop. So here are some players to consider: Kalen Ballage, Jalen Samuels, Josh Adams, Gus Edwards.
That's the guy that I would bring up. I am a big believer in the Gus bus. Gus Edwards was fantastic. Now, because he was undrafted, there's not a lot of capital into him, similar to what we saw with Alex Collins. If they go out and sign Mark Ingram,
Goodbye,
Gus Edwards
Gus.
is dead to me for fantasy. But I could see them holding pat with what they have, or maybe adding, some other veteran. They're basically adding Kenneth Dixon to the team already. I think they have enough running backs there to where coming up this season, they could look at other needs, and if they do, with Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards is the type of runner. I mean, you saw that shift. It wasn't close to around when Lamar Jackson took over. It was the week when Lamar Jackson took over. That was when the Gus bus was filled up and put on the field, and he looked great. He fits that offense. So if they don't add a running back of any major value, I'm going to be in on Gus bus.
I'm not.
Sweet.
Who are you in on then?
Who would you like from that team, assuming that the running back core is the same as it is now? Would you think Alex Collins will be ahead?
I'm not assuming
No,
that.
I know that. I said I wouldn't be in on Gus Edwards if Mark Ingram shows up. I'm saying if they do keep the current core.
I think that your bus has only a few stops on the trip, and none of them are in elite categories. I don't think Gus can give you – he scored twice on the season on the ground. I don't think he can give you enough. I mean, I think he had every opportunity last year, and he was fine. He was definitely fine.
So just so you know what fine is, okay, he got his first start in Week 10. And so for the rest of the season –
Week 11. So Game 10?
Yes, game 10. So the rest of the season, his pace, which was, I believe, 7 games, was on pace for 279 carries, 1,495 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
He was RB14 in that run, and
yeah,
that would
he didn't
be,
get the touchdowns, which is surprising given his body.
Yeah, you could be right, but you're speaking to me like I'm hearing Alex Collins' name coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, I get that, and it's a worthy thing to bring up because Alex Collins had very similar stuff.
I just worry about him falling out of favor. That's my biggest concern. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a great player. So you could be right. That's the beauty of it.
You could be crazy.
The name I guess I'd bring up would be Kalen Ballage.
Yeah, the Bellagio would be the name I'd bring up.
Yeah, 4th round pick by the Miami Dolphins. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Miami this offseason. Ballage at least has the skill set and ability to make an impact on the offense. We'll see if this team can figure out how to use the running backs. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and we'll see if
no more
Frank
Mr.
Gore,
Beehole.
Is Frank Gore currently in the hyperbaric chamber? Just
do I need to
recovering?
take that trade, Mike? I mean,
I
had the chance to picking him up.
You probably
I could have gotten Gore.
Probably should
Gore
do that.
and Smallwood. And you're hurting. You're
I can't
hurting
believe
at
you
tight end.
There was a part of you that clicked all those guys into the trade.
No. This was just on Slack.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at the rosters on that page, but no, I was because here's the truth. I had guys in my R that I had to move, and I'm like, I'm not moving them for this. Like, this isn't a real trade, so I just slacked them.
All right. Well, that is it for today's episode of the show. Well, almost the end.
Pristine deal of the day.
Oh, this is a nice one. Ties in very well. Well done, Brooks. Today's pristine deal of the day.
Wow.
Saquon Barkley signed Giants jersey.
What?
Yesterday, a listener picked it up for $88.
I told you guys. I told you. People they're distracted by Patrick Mahomes and Julian Edelman, and meanwhile, fans are scooping up Barkley jerseys for Rashaad pennies.
Oh, man. And here's the thing. We give you one pristine deal of the day. There are hundreds that go every day. This is not something that lasts a week. There are hundreds of daily auctions. PristineAuction.com. Let them know the fantasy footballers sent you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day.
Wonderful Valentine's Day. A wonderful weekend. We will see you next week on Tuesday.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.